Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Games from Almost in Full Color. Today's video, we're going to talk about the capabilities of the Switch. With Valve dropping the Steam Deck and lucky individuals starting to get them in their hands now, they have the ability to play PC games on the go. So I asked myself, I said, well, what if you could do that on the Switch? What if you could play PS4 level and also PC level games on your regular old Switch? Well, you can, kind of. Okay, so it's not a completely stock Switch. As you can see, it's definitely jailbroken. But if you are somebody who has one of the first generation Switches, then it's something you can do as well with very minimal effort. I'm not going to go over the steps needed to make that happen in this video, but I will link the video down in the description below that I use to jailbreak mine, mostly because I really didn't know how to do it until I followed the video. So I feel like if I showed you the steps, it might encourage people to ask questions if something goes wrong in their process. And I wouldn't be the correct person to give you that information if things went wrong, because I'm not the person who did this. So that's why I feel like those questions probably be better suited for that individual who made the video, so that hopefully you can get the right expertise needed in order to help you out of your jam if you do get into one. I will say again, it is really simple. I doubt anything happens, but you never know when you're tinkering around with this type of stuff. So if you're somebody who maybe just can't get a Steam Deck right now, or if you already have a Steam Deck, but you're waiting for it to show up and it might be a long time before it does show up, this could be something that might interest you. So in order to play the PS4 Pro level games I spoke to, we'll be using Stadia for that, and for our PC games we'll be using the GeForce Now 3080 plan, which allows you to play any games that you have on Steam or the Epic Game Store or Ubisoft Plus, I believe is what it's called. There's quite a few services you can link to your GeForce Now plan and grab those games that you may already own on Steam or those other platforms. So now, just to put this in perspective, you will be playing all your games at 720p because that's what the Switch screen will support. And you can also play in 60 FPS because that's the max the Switch screen will support, which is actually a good thing when it comes to bandwidth, because since you will be relying on your internet connection to use these services, only streaming at 720p 60 FPS will be a lot easier on your data plan, but also a lot easier on your actual bandwidth, because you'll have a bigger cushion to play with if you're somebody who doesn't have a very top tier internet service. Also, one of the better parts of probably using a Switch for this type of stuff, other than maybe the Steam Deck, especially when you're going to be using something like GeForce Now and you do have the top of the line 3080 plan, is that even though the Steam Deck does support a little bit higher resolution than 720p on the screen, the issue with that is, since you're doing all the computing and all the processing locally on the device, is that a lot of those bigger PC games, you're going to have to run lower graphics in order to hit that 60 FPS mark if you want the game to run smoothly and not jumping all over the place in frame rate. Or you might be able to bump up graphics a little bit, but you might be locked at a 30 FPS playthrough. So when you're using something like GeForce Now on the Switch, you get the full 720p, you get all of the graphics turned up to the highest marks they can go to, and you're going to get a locked 60 FPS experience the entire time. So even though you may lose the ability to game locally if you're not on the internet, if you're somebody who pretty much going to play their handheld device always, maybe at home or just around another internet connection, then this could be something that you could do on your Switch, and you probably would get a lot out of it. Now, of course, you can also run emulators on the Switch. If you're somebody who wants to do that, I don't have it on this Switch, so Nintendo, stand down, stand down. But if you're an individual who wanted to go down that dark path, you can do emulation on the Switch when it's jailbroken. I would suggest you stick to PS1 and N64 games and anything below that. It does get pretty choppy once you get to GameCube. It's not really viable, and I don't believe you could do any PS2 or Xbox games on it either. So a few of the games that I did play, like I said, we did use GeForce Now and Stadia. For GeForce Now, we played some Destiny 2 as well as some Guardians of the Galaxy. Both games ran amazing. Like I said, we got the full 720p with full maxed out settings on each game, as well as we were hitting a solid 60 FPS that never dipped. Now it's hard to kind of show off the games and how they look because I am doing a top-down shot on the Switch, albeit the screen on the Switch is not the greatest to record. And as well, I could have probably just thrown it up on the TV and did a, and grabbed it with a capture card, but I wanted you guys to see me actually playing on it handheld because that's how I'm going to be playing it anyway. And that can also kind of show you the input and things like that. A lot of people, when it comes to cloud gaming, they're really worried about input lag and input latency, things like that. So this will kind of show you me actually playing the device, and you can come up with your own assumptions or your own conclusions about how you think it's running. To me, ran perfect, no hitches. Now Stadia obviously did not look as good as GeForce Now, mostly because Stadia doesn't give you the opportunity or the ability to bump up settings as you see fit. You kind of get packaged like if a port was released for a console, whatever graphics level they deem it to be in order to be a stable experience is what you deal with on Stadia. But I do have a ton of games on Stadia, as you can see here. So I played a couple games off there as well. I did some Tomb Raider. I didn't play that much because honestly, I haven't played it in so long. I kind of forgot the buttons. And I also played some Grid on it as well. Both games ran great, had no hiccups at all, no hitches. It was a really solid playthrough. And if you were wondering, I was using Wi-Fi to play these games, so it's not like it was a direct connection or anything like that. And everything did run really good. Again, that is a benefit of when you're only playing at 720p because you don't need that much internet bandwidth to make this stuff happen. Now, for those of you out there wondering, battery life does take a slight hit. Really nothing crazy because the Switch doesn't have a ton of battery life, to be honest. I would say I got about 2 hours worth of gameplay out of this before I had to plug it back in. If anyone out there is kind of interested, there are a bunch of cases and battery packs that you can buy for the Switch on Amazon and other sites. If you're somebody who wants an extended play, a lot of those cases, or battery packs as they call them, would actually give you around 6 to 7 hours of gameplay. I actually got one of those coming in on the way now, just so that I can play a little longer on my Switch without being stuck to the wall, so to speak. Also, for anybody wondering, the whole jailbreak process probably took about 15 minutes. Like I said, it was really straightforward. The steps in the video I referenced earlier were really good, and they definitely outlined everything you needed. And it's not much you actually need at all. Actually, there's no investment up front at all, so you don't have to spend any money to actually make this happen, and it's a fairly straightforward and quick process, so that's good. Now in my case, I did buy a completely separate SD card for when I did this jailbreak. That way I didn't have to worry about any of this messing with any of my Switch games that I have installed on my original SD card that I was using with the Switch. It's probably the best way to go about it, especially if you're somebody who wants to do emulation. That way you can put all of your ROMs and stuff on a separate SD card, and you're not having that stuff on there for when you want to play your Switch regular and you want to game online and things like that. I don't know if Nintendo is scanning these devices. I'm sure they are, and it's probably a lot easier on you when you don't have to run the risk of getting banned if they're not scanning your Switch, or if they are scanning your Switch and you have a ton of ROMs and emulators on there. I'm pretty sure that will get you banned. So if you're somebody who, like I said, wants to go down that deep dark path, you probably would do better by investing in a second SD card just to keep those two worlds separate and keep you safe. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up the video for today. I hope you guys found this entertaining. If you liked the video, then please drop us a like and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff that we got coming out later. As always, we appreciate all the support, and just be easy, be blessed, peace.